Good morning, everyone. So she stole my first line. I was going to ask, does anyone know anyone who had the flu this year? No. So the other thing that this is really, interesting, I often go and give talks about what public health is and what we do, and I often say, okay, how many of you think that the public health department is about giving flu shots and inspecting restaurants? And can you think of one other thing that we do? Good, chuckles means maybe you can. I don't know. But anyway, yes, this year has been a very severe and pervasive influenza season. And about the only good thing I can think about that is that maybe finally people understand that the flu is the flu. Influenza, it's a virus. It is not the stomach bug. It's not a really bad cold. And it kills people. And it's the kind of disease that you can differentiate from the flu that many people say they were sick with in years past, because it's the I got hit by a truck, I can't get out of bed kind of illness. There's some fancy proteins that live on this virus. Everyone suddenly is an expert in microbiology. Oh yeah, it's the H3N2. Oh yeah, no, I got the N1. Oh, yeah. I got the B, yeah. So those letters actually mean something to those of us who have been in this business for a while, and it really is important about why this year it's been really bad. So there are two main strains of flu, A and B, very creative, and then the proteins that live on the surface are named by H and N, which is hemagglutinin and neuraminidase, that rolls off the tongue. And so they get numbered. When you get a new strain, you get a new number. But there's persistent ones that have been hanging around forever. So H1N1, that was the strain that caused pandemic in 2009, interestingly, is the same strain that caused the worst flu pandemic ever known to man in 1918, the Spanish flu. And the reason it came back, we think, is because it was close to a century later, and so all the people who had had it were deceased. And that's why a lot of old people didn't get it so bad, and younger people did because they hadn't experienced it. In general terms, the version we're seeing this year, the AH3N2, has been known to cause worse disease. So that's probably part of the reason that we're seeing a bad flu year. But then there's this aspect of influenza called shift and drift. So when you've got a major change, the flu virus is very wily. It changes its stripes on an annual basis, and sometimes it really changes. It goes from a pantsuit to a dress, and that's called a shift. And sometimes it just, changes the color of the pants, and that's called a drift. So when you get a shift, you have a really big change in the virus, and you can have a pandemic where nobody's been exposed before, no immunity, really bad flu year. Or you can have a drift where there's slight changes, enough that people have had that flu virus before 10, 20, 50 years ago, have lost enough immunity that they may get it again. And that's probably what we're seeing. You combine that with there's different levels of vaccine efficacy, and this year appears to be that the particular vaccine, how many of you know someone who got vaccinated and got the flu? All right. So this year we're seeing a lot of that, probably low efficacy to the vaccine, but we won't get that until CDC officially tells us after the end of the season. Nonetheless, I am out there beating the drum, get your vaccine anyway, get vaccinated. Number one best method of preventing ICU admission and death. So you may still get the flu, but if you're an older person, and even if it's only partly protective, it really may be the difference between life and death. And so number one thing people can do is get vaccinated. Number two, hand hygiene. Wash your hands, wash your hands, wash your hands. Not just wash your hands. How many of you, no raising of hands, go in and just do a quickie and, you're off to the races. 20 seconds, hot water, soap. Is this the sign? I wasn't watching the clock. I wasn't watching the clock, sorry. So if I can leave you with one thing, the best thing you can do to protect yourself is the vaccine and the hand washing if you sing happy birthday in your head or out loud twice is the best way. Stay home when you're sick. Nobody's that important. Nobody. And with that, I will turn it back over.
Thank you, Dr. Borenstein.